Hi, Ashi. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
I'm very happy to hear that. That's great. And how was your day?
Day was okay. How was your day?
It was good actually. I've been doing a bit under the weather the past couple of days, so I hope to feel better soon.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any questions, any doubts, anything you want to ask?
Mm, let's have conversation, and then probably if I'll encounter
Oh,
any questions, I'll ask you.
all right. Sounds good. So, what do you want to talk about? Do you have something specific in mind?
I do not have anything specific as such,
Okay.
but if nothing is coming to our mind, we can probably take a look at the session documents.
Okay. Sure. So, our topic is generation gaps. Okay. So
Okay.
the first question is, have you ever felt generation gap with your parents or your family?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because, I think the generation gap is typically a gap, right, between two generations,
Yeah.
youngsters and then the older people, or say especially parents. And then the parents, they have their own principles and ideas and values, wherein they expect from their children to act like this, the way they acted, or the way they look at things, right?
Okay.
But younger generations have their different opinions because they have born in a different era or period, right? Wherein the circumstances and the conditions that they are developing, or say they are growing, have different set of minds, and they mingle with different people. There's a age difference. They have different way of looking things at. So certainly, it is hard to live up to the expectations
Right.
of parents, right?
All
And then
right.
sometimes you might encounter a kind of altercation, or not altercation actually, the differences when it comes to ideas and values. Correct? So at times, because I believe, I'm not as young as probably today's youngsters, say 20. I'm not into 20s, or perhaps I'm not, say, in adolescent phase, where it is hard to believe or probably identify what's wrong and what's not, right? So I'm talking about the younger generation, especially because they're not able to cope up with or they're not able to tune up with the older generations, right? They think that they're smart enough, and these are the ways where things are to be done, because if you go out of that, probably there could be a number of complications.
All right.
But but I think as parents have their own opinion, and
Mhm.
they also look at the things on their own perspectives. And since they have already lived up those days when they were youngsters, right? They had their ideas and values that might not match to a certain extent, but that's also the ways where things can be done in a different way, or differently, you may say, right?
All right.
So I think both are not wrong. I mean, both are correct and in their senses. There's not a thumb rule of doing things, right? There could be n number of ways where you can mold or adjust yourself, or probably compromise a little bit, and then go for it, right? So there could be a number of solutions to a problem. It's just not that the straight one. There's just a one solution to a problem. No, I don't believe so. So, so I mean, these the gap which is there, it should be probably bridged properly, right? One should understand the gap. The parents' opinion is something which we should not avoid at all, 100%, right? You should take those uh, opinions into the consideration as well.
Mhm.
And you should also have whatever opinions that you have, you should also put it forward in the way that nobody should feel hurt, and things can be sorted out. So that is
All
what
right.
I believe. What do you think about it?
I think, see, generation gap will be there. Like it is there. I think for like the future generations to come, it might be a bit easier. But if I compare the way of thinking, in regards to me and my parents and I, that's quite different. And I think the only way to overcome generation gap is effective communication. So what happens is they have their own way of thinking and we have our own, right? So if we don't talk about it and explain each other because they do not understand what's going in my mind or what I want or what I am thinking. And again, I might not understand where they're coming from. And of course, they want the best for me, but sometimes it's hard to understand, each other. So I think in Indian families, what we lack is communication. We never sit together as a family and talk about things, especially uncomfortable things. Okay, so do you think you can share everything with your parents, or like sometimes you have to hold back in what you can talk with them and what you can't?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because this is the relationship wherein it is hard to share everything and anything with your family members or say parents, especially. Had it been the friends, right, we'd have easily shared everything, or probably say with your partners or somebody else, which you feel like sharing things wouldn't hamper much. So, oh yes, as I said, like no, I mean it is not possible to share everything
Yeah,
in
that's
anything
right.
with your family members.
Okay, so you think like your parents and children they can never be friends because parents will be parents. You can't, make them your friends. But
I think at certain point in time, at certain age, I think if you're say for example, if you're in probably 10th standard or probably in ninth or eighth, whatever you say, right? So at that point in time, I mean, you can share everything in anything with your with your family members or parents, right? But when you grow up, you have your own way of looking things at, right? So I believe that when the moment you start going into adolescent phase, or say probably in your 20s or above that, so people feel a little reluctant, sharing everything with their parents.
yeah, that's right. Okay. So, are there any topics like that you found difficult to talk with your parents? Because with me, like I suffer from mental health issues, along back in my life. I would say when I was in school. So that was a really hard topic for my parents to understand or to, wrap their head around it because they didn't understand the concept of
Right.
depression or, a person suffering from mental health because they could not understand why is it happening. So it was something new for them, and I would say it took me a lot of years to find help. So, what do you think about that? And have you ever faced something similar?
I don't think so. I have ever been into any sort of mental trauma as such, or
Hmm,
any.
Anything apart from mental trauma? Means for me, it was that topic, specifically
Oh,
that I had a
okay,
hard
okay.
time explaining them or talking to them about. So, do you have any similar experiences?
Uh, no, as such, no, not that evident. I would say, there could be a number of things, wherein you're not comfortable sharing that.
This was more like
And
small
it's just
daily
small,
life.
small things. Correct. It's not something which is a bigger in sense. It's just the small things. You not tend to share everything. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, would you say that you have it easy as compared to your parents? Because parents are always like, we had to struggle, uh, you know, this much, or we had to go through this. So, would you say your life is easier or harder as compared to your parents' lives?
If I compare, absolutely. I mean, our lives are much easier than what my parents have gone through. So certainly, because the stories that they are sharing, looks like yeah, we have never been into that situation,
Yeah.
and my parents have done a lot of things to make sure that I do my studies, higher studies, and more relaxed, and make sure he made sure that I do not uh, you know ever get into this scarcity kind of situation, and everything is fulfilled. He always made sure, and I realized as well, and even I realized today as well. So I think that they've done a lot, which probably every parent would do. So yes, yes, absolutely. What is your thought? I mean, how do you see from your perspective?
Well, I believe my father was from a very humble background. He hailed from a village, and they had to, my grandfather passed away when my father was really young. So they really had, they didn't have a lot of means to, go for the education, especially higher education. So I would say he did struggle a lot throughout his life. He studied, he went on to join the Air Force, which was a huge deal, for the family. And I think he was the one who took the family forward in a way.
Your
In
your
terms, yes,
grandparents,
yeah, my father, I would say.
your father. Okay,
Father, yeah.
okay, all right,
So yeah, I would say he has struggled a lot, and I had it fairly easy. But then, there are different definitions of what easy is.
correct,
Okay, so what I might be feeling, right now, or I might have felt, that might have been, a different kind of difficult, I would say.
correct, correct.
Yeah. So I think you can't really compare somebody's pain or suffering just because, they went through something or the other person did. Because, I mean, you just can't compare. But
Right.
again, I had it easy, but still.
Or you
Even though,
mentioned in our, I remember in my last discussion that you mentioned that you wanted to confine yourself within the four walls and you don't want to open too much. And then you were kind of an introvert person, right? And since we talked about all Game of Thrones in our earlier discussions and the paintings and everything we discussed, I remember. So you think that since you've been talking to a number of people, do you think this
Mhm.
is one of the ways to overcome the introvertness?
You can say so, but I think talking on, like via video calls, it's not similar to going out and talking to people, meeting them in the real life, like physical life, I would say. I think that's a whole different experience. And I think if you really want to be an extrovert, I think you should go out more and, meet people. I mean, it's
Okay.
it's a good way to start if you feel like you're an introvert and you have a hard time talking to people or opening up. So I think it's a good way to start, but I think ultimately the aim is to go out of the house and meet people, interact with them.
Are you comfortable doing that, or you wanted to stay
Yes, I
back at
am. I mean,
home?
I am an introvert, but I go out and talk to people.
Oh,
So yeah,
wonderful.
I mean, it's not like don't go out at all. I do. It's just that sometimes I don't have a reason to go out much because these days all the studies and everything it's online. So I think you don't get much time to go out and see somebody. So that makes you an introvert sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have a lot of friends?
No, I do not have too
Mhm.
many friends. So
Okay.
whatever friends that I have, they're they're I think very limited. Probably three,
Okay.
four, five, maximum four, five. Yeah, not more than that.
So how often do you go and see them?
It's hard to go and see them all the time because that I what I believe is that of course practically it's not possible these days because
Mhm.
you are busy doing your stuff and people they're
Yeah.
not available every time you wanted to meet them and see them, right? So maybe they are busy in their stuff. So it's always a great idea to call them up just in case when you're missing your friends.
Mhm.
It just it's a one call away, right? So you have to dial the number and then have a word with him. So I personally do that. I call my friends without any reason, trust me. And
Okay,
most
that's
of the
good.
times I realize that I don't have anything to do with it. I don't have anything. I don't expect anything from my friends most of
Okay.
the times. And I call him up, and then I keep on talking anything, right? And it makes no sense. I realized that why I called him. I just called him because I was missing him. So
Mhm.
that is it. But I see when I expect a call from somebody, he talks about or she talks about something else. So she talks
Mhm.
for a while, and then there is a the purpose of a call, right? So
Okay.
so I generally feel I generally find that happens very often than not. But
Mhm.
particularly if I have to talk, with my friends, I most of the times I realize that I don't have anything to do with the kind of expectations or say anything like that. I simply call them up as why? Because I miss them
You
sometimes.
want to talk to them. I think there doesn't have to be a reason always to call somebody. I think if they're a good friend, you can just call them up and talk about anything and everything. Like why not? Right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, then I think our session is going to end. So I would say it was wonderful talking to you. It was a pleasure.
Same here.
I
Same here.
believe we had a fun conversation. Okay. So you have a nice week ahead. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye
maybe
bye.
I'll see you soon. Okay, bye
Yes.
bye.
Sure. Sure. Bye bye.